The chief executive of Eskom, Ruyter, has apologized to South Africans for the rolling blackouts. The utility has downgraded the scheduled power cuts to stage 3. But why are we still in this mess? eNCA reporter Heidi Giokos looks at Eskom's financials and the number of bailouts given to them over the past decade. It's not like they've not been receiving a cent. Heidi, good afternoon, and thank you very much for coming in this hour of the Midday View. So while Eskom cannot keep our lights currently on, they also can't keep up with paying their debt.
Yes, certainly, Bradan, and we know that this has been a huge issue, with many saying it would have been a different situation if Eskom did not receive bailouts or did not receive government guarantees, and this is why they can't keep the lights on, but they have received billions. If we just take a look, we do know that South Africa's biggest liability is Eskom. This is a huge concern. They are draining the fiscus. They have asked for billions of rands over the past couple of years. If we move over to actually see what transpired between 2008 and 2019, 132.7 billion rand of taxpayers' money has been used and has been spent to try and assist Eskom with keeping the lights on, maintenance, and whatever other issues.
Cash, yeah.
Cash,
like
yes. I wish I had that. I mean, it says taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
I wish that was my money. But
wow, that's a lot.
That is a lot of money. If you move over to the next slide, you can actually see that in terms of bailouts, this is excluding the money that has been allocated in the budget 2020 with regards to that 480 billion rand debt. We can see in bailouts to date, it's over 240 billion rand. So this...
Well, that's almost 245.
Yes, exactly.
And
the thing here is, Bradan, that it is, of course, a little bit challenging to get the exact figures, but this is just a roundup of taxpayers' money and bailouts that we are seeing in the last couple of years.
But now, if you go further back, if you go to like 2005, what was the power utilities borrowing at that time?
Yes, let's actually have a look at that. And this, I actually had to triple check this because I found it fascinating that between 2005 and 2006, Eskom was in a position of 30.2 billion rand in terms of borrowing. You go to 2019 and it's sitting at 440 billion rand. Huge concern again, because what is Eskom doing with this money if we still don't have sustainable and constant electricity supply? We also do know that if you move over to the next slide, Eskom is, of course, in a very difficult position because in terms of revenue collection, as you can see, it is very slow. But if you look at the purple line, that is the debt, and it should actually be the opposite. It should be revenue a lot higher so that it can be able to pay its debts.
I don't expect you to have an answer for our viewers at this stage, but when I look at that, that gap, I'm wondering how much of that could be reduced if only the municipalities that are owing billions to Eskom were to pay their money. I'm just wondering.
Yes, and it's an interesting point because we do know that reporter Lindsay Denlinger was in Parliament today where the AG actually spoke about the massive issue about how Eskom is not doing enough to make sure that there's revenue collection and that Eskom not only collects revenue from municipalities but also individual households. So surely that graph should be very different. The gap should be a lot different. The green line should be higher than the purple line. But unfortunately, this has also contributed.
Or at least that gap should be much narrower than it is.
Yes.
But I mean, you need money to give us lights, despite all these challenges with these borrowings that you're showing us, which are really, really big numbers. But they need about R1 billion, I understand, Heidi, a week to keep our lights on. That's shocking. R1 billion a week. That's 4 billion a month.
Yes. So if you move over to the next slide, you can see here that Eskom in March this year told Scopa in Parliament that in order to keep the lights on just for 2021, just for this financial year, they need R1 billion per week.
This is not monopoly money. This is real hardcore mullah.
Yes, exactly. And why do they need R1 billion a week to keep the lights on? They're trying to avoid load shedding. How do they avoid load shedding? They have these diesel-powered generators that consume a large number of...
And how much is diesel? It keeps going up and up.
Let's look at the next slide where you see how Eskom, between just 1 year, one financial year, they needed 7.5 billion rand for diesel-generated power. So you have South Africans saying it's unacceptable. Why do we have load shedding? But then Eskom says, okay, well, this is how much it's costing us in just 1 year to make sure that we have our generators powered, and it's, of course, using diesel, which is a huge concern. But this is just some of the money that's being spent and pumped into Eskom, yet we still don't have electricity. So it's going to be interesting to see what the finance minister says tomorrow about what he's going to do about Eskom, because as much as Eskom has been able to reduce its debt by 80 billion rand, and now its debt is sitting at about 400 billion rand, that is a huge amount. When are we going to pay that off, and when are we going to have lights?
Yeah, and you've got the CEO, Mr. Ruyter, and his executive team, who, by the way, are paid millions every year in salaries. They're paid to resolve the problems. They have to find a solution.
Have to. And we just can't keep draining the fiscus like this. It's just...
Can't keep on apologizing every second week.
It's unsustainable.
How many apologies have we had from Eskom in the last short while? Every time we apologize, we're sort of, stop apologizing. Fix the damn Eskom. Give us power. That's all we need. Thank you very much, Heidi Giokos.